Good afternoon. Jeff Dawson from a rather cloudy, dismal Dallas, Texas. We were fortunate and dodged the storms last night that just sacked north and northwest Fort Worth areas with some extremely large hail. Golf ball to, I believe, baseball size was reported. And it also clipped Norman up in Oklahoma. It was a pretty intense storm. Right now, we're just a little bit of rain. It's going to be overcast. It's muggy. It's humid. It's spring. What'd you expect? This is what we get. I watched the address last night, which was kind of entertaining to a degree because we kept getting the EBS, emergency broadcast system, kept breaking in. It's like, well, this is kind of ironic. State of the Union address, EBS is going off, but it is, I don't know who's in charge of it. It keeps saying WBAP is transmitting this. They need to check their system because it's horrible. Half the time you can't understand a word they're saying. And in the days of satellite and fiber lines, I can't believe that the EBS is this bad. It should be a very clear and concise message. No ambiguity. You know exactly what's being said. And half the time you're like, what'd you say? What'd you say? What was that? What was that? So that needs to be looked into. Any of you boys from NOAA out there, you need to get with the program because the emergency broadcast system is supposed to be clear, concise, no ambiguity. Everybody knows what's going on. They know where the danger is coming from. But if you can't understand what's being said, what good is it? None. Okay. The State of the Union address. Obviously, everyone had an opinion. The only one that I thought was decent was Tim Scott. I did listen to his analysis, which was about 15 minutes long. And it was solid. It was good. It wasn't rambling. Yet you turn on the radio, you turn on the TV, it's right versus left, it's left versus right. And the rest of us are going, we really don't give a shit. We are tired of this crap. We are tired of Fox, MSNBC, CNN, NPR, name the station. We're tired of it. We're just tired of it. You all are doing nothing to help the situation except continually push your narratives in what you want. And most of you that listen, you know I'm a conservative. It's just the way it is. But I don't rant and rave. And if the Republicans do something stupid, I will call it out. I had plenty of things to say I didn't like about Trump. I've had plenty of things about Obama. I've had plenty of comments and opinions on our, quote, media, these people that are making way too much money, anywhere from $2 to $10 million a year. And what are you getting from them? Nothing but a bunch of crap. And when I listened to the speech last night, Biden has brought this up a couple of times, and I finally did a little research into it. Charging stations. We know that everything evolves. We've been relying on the automobile for about, as the main mode of transportation, actually less than 100 years. And prior to that, the centuries before, it was foot power, horsepower, river power. That was the mode of transportation for centuries. Centuries. It evolves. Look at the first Model T and the Model A versus what we have today. We go from one cylinder to some with 12 cylinders. We go from 25 to 30 miles an hour to 200 plus. It evolved. It's technology. Technologies evolve. Of course, construction is another difference in that the field I've been in for 35 years, how come the Roman concrete roads are still holding up and we can't get ours to last past 25 years. I understand the load restrictions. They didn't have 80,000-pound vehicles moving at 70 to 90 miles an hour, beating the absolute hell to the subgrade underneath the pavement. And folks, that's where the problem lies in. It's not the concrete and it's not the asphalt. It's what's underneath it it's sitting on. If that isn't stable and solid, guess what? It's going to fail. Do you build, as the Bible says, you want to build a house on sand or you want to build it on a rock? Which one's going to last longer? It's pretty simple. I can show that in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You build a house in Rockwall. There's a reason they call it Rockwall. You build it down in the DeSoto area, Cockrell Hill area, they're not going to move. You build it in Las Colinas and you just built a house on a Six Flags ride because that soil just shrinks and swells horribly. It's got a plasticity index of like 45, which is very, very unstable. It rains, it just explodes. When it stops raining, it dries up. It just shrinks to nothing, like pouring salt on a snail. It just disappears to nothing. Okay. Joe brought up, and he's brought this up several times, 500,000 charging stations. Now, I'm going to go into more depth in this on my radio show on BBS One this Saturday at 2 o'clock, Dawson's Domain. But 500,000 charging stations, now that sounds really good, doesn't it? Okay. I researched it this morning and I found out that there is 168,000 gas stations in the United States that handle 284.5 million registered vehicles. That means that each fueling station handles 1,693 vehicles a day. Right now, we have 1.5 million electric cars on the road, which means at 500,000, that would supply 3 a day. That's it. Where are you going to build these? And if you do the math of registered vehicles to gas stations and look at how many charging stations we're going to have, that means there would be 846.5 million vehicles on American roads. That's the math. You don't have to agree with it, but it's there. Where the hell are these cars going to go to? What's going to be the population of the United States? 1 billion? I need to look that up and see how many vehicles are in China and India, especially China. Let me make a note of that. Vehicles in China. But the point here is, who's going to build these charging stations? Back in the late 80s or 90s, and I don't remember if it was the feds or just the state of Texas that came up with these emission stations for the metropolitan areas, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston, Brownsville, Amarillo, just go through the list. Any major metropolitan town had to have these emission stations, and the state built them. Now, obviously, they contracted them out, and these things were these were nice. They were state of the art. They had like 15 to 20 bays. I remember the one on 175 in late June. It's like, what the hell is that? And then I found out, oh, that's an emission station. I never went to one because I lived in Kaufman County, which it wasn't required. They were trying to get the CO2 level emissions reduced in the metropolitan areas. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Only problem is they failed. They failed across the board. I don't know what it cost to build those, but I know they weren't cheap because with the state involved, if you've ever done a job for the state, county, or the federal government, you know the paperwork that's involved. You know the regulations you've got to go by. And they'll choke a horse. I've done federal jobs. I'd rather work for the airport than do a job for the Corps of Engineers. I'll tell you that right now. You know what to expect from the airport. It doesn't matter what airport I worked at in DFW, it was all the same. No difference. You work for the Corps, good luck. You got a different inspector, and they'll do what they want to. You work for the city of Dallas, and there's always this line in every paragraph, or is directed by the engineer. It's a pain in the ass. But the point here is, who's going to handle building these 500 stations, 500,000 stations? Well, if it's the government, we know how that's going to work out. It's not. All these gas stations we currently have, they're privately run. As America became reliant on the automobile, the oil producers realized we need a way to get our product to the customer. And they came up with a service station. They also came up with, most people back then didn't know how to work on a vehicle. So what did they do? They got mechanics to work on the vehicle for you. So you could get your oil changed or air checked. And if you had a mechanical issue, they could take care of that too while they fueled up your vehicle. That's what it's all about, right? Yes. And if you're going to build these 500,000 stations, where are you going to build them? Are you going to phase out the gas stations? I want to know where you're going to build these, and I want to know where are you getting the power for 500,000 charging stations? Are you relying on the existing grid, which according to the State of the Union address, the whole grid needs to be upgraded? Okay, who's going to pay for that? We're just going to wave a wand and miraculously come up with how many hundreds of billions of dollars or trillion it's going to take to upgrade the grid? Where's that money going to come from? Well, it really doesn't matter. There is nobody cares about being fiscally responsible in Washington anymore. And I'll say the same thing about the state of Texas. I looked at the deficit clock this morning. The state of Texas is $335 billion upside down. Who cares? Nobody's going to care until the economy crashes. We can keep printing money. We can keep spending money. Nobody cares, really. I mean, look at it. How many people during this pandemic have you heard complain about, when am I getting my check? When am I getting my check? Well, I've heard it from a lot of people. Where's my money? I don't know. Where is it? We don't have it, but who cares? You got a check. You got $1,400, or if you had a family, you got $2,800 to $5,000, which, yeah, it helps your bank account. It helps pay your bills, but it's money we don't have, but nobody really cares. And with the Biden administration, he's got 3 big programs that amount to $6 trillion. Where's the money coming from? And now the people on the right are bitching and moaning about, you have put this upon our great, grandkids and all this. Well, let's see, right now at the current deficit, it's each American owes $225,000 to offset that. Like, we've got $225,000 in our hip pocket. Nobody cares. They're proving it. They're proving it. Well, we know transportation is going to evolve. It happens. For centuries, as I said earlier, we only had 3 modes of transportation. We have evolved. We will continue to evolve as the private industry evolves, not the government. I mean, I'll have to do some more research in how Rome built their aqueducts and their roads, but I would be inclined to believe they hired competent people to do this. They didn't take bureaucrats and go out there and build this marvelous aqueduct system that still stands to this day, and roads that are still standing 2,500 years later. This is nuts. So, but okay, so where is the power coming from for all these charging stations? Joe said he wants to lay thousands of miles of transmission lines. Well, yeah, you can build the towers and you can string the wire, but where's it coming from? And how much juice does each charging station need? I don't know. But what's the power source? You going to build more solar and wind farms? Okay, fair enough. Where? Where are you going to build these without the EPA and the environmentalists losing their minds? Who are you going to subsidize farmland to build them there? Okay. Where's that money coming from? That's right. We don't have the money. Yeah. Who cares? It's only money. It's not backed by anything. 28 trillion in the hole. So let's go to 34 trillion. You think anyone in Washington is going to jump up and down? No, not one, because there will be one, but you think a large group of congressmen and senators are going to get together and jump up and down and raise bloody murder over this? Nah. Why should they? They're still getting their $175,000 a year. These are sad times. Is it actually going to take us going through another Great Depression to pull our heads out and get this right? I hate to think about that, but that's where we're headed at this pace. Not going to be good. Not going to be good. But like I said, I'm going to get into this a little more in my radio show this Saturday at 2 p.m. on BBS One. But I just wanted to give you something to think about. 500,000 charging stations versus 168,000 gas stations. 284.5 registered vehicles versus an estimated 846.5 million. 500,000 is insane. And who pays for it? Yeah. Who cares? Hopefully I will see you this Saturday on the radio show. Y'all have a good day.